There are so many ways to plan a campaign. Of course, you could start with a big idea that you write down in a notebook, or maybe you put it in a Google Doc and start with a big theme, and then come up with some really fun adventures that you have in mind. Maybe you start with a creature or a monster. I think one of the best ways to plan an entire campaign is to actually start with a map. A map of your world or the land that you're going to be in. So today, we're going to be talking about how you can plan your campaign starting with an inspired map. So I mentioned in the intro that we're going to be talking today about how to plan a campaign using a map. Why would you want to do such a thing? And some of us just don't have the skills to make a map from scratch. Now, I want to push back on that real quick because there are some terrific programs out there that you can use to create a map in a matter of minutes. The map that I'm going to be using today in this example, I created in about an hour. And that wasn't even a hard hour. That was an hour of going to the refrigerator and getting something to drink and taking a break to watch some news and then getting back to it every now and then. It's not hard. It does take a little time to learn a good program. You know, you have to spend some time learning it. And so I would recommend that. The program that I used for this is a program that's really common among game masters and map makers, and that's Wonderdraft. I like it because it is fairly easy to learn and it is extremely simple to understand the principles behind building it. Plus, it has some great little automatic generation features that you may or may not like. Either way, what I'm going to show you today didn't take me long to make. So why would you start with map when you're building a campaign for a new homebrew adventure? Well, the first thing that you know whenever you build a map is that it's going to help you visualize what you're trying to think through. And not just you, your players as well. By starting with a map, even if they can't see all of it because they haven't explored it, just a general world map helps people to start to get a feel for it, a mood for it. You can create a map with colors and feels that gives your players an idea of where you're taking things. You can go with a Tolkien style or black and white style or more graphic, realistic kind of style. Either way, it's going to start to communicate to both you and your players how to visualize the world that they are about to enter. And it's like adding illustrations to a book, right? You give a little bit more to your players so that they can imagine it. Sure, you can do everything in the theater of the mind, but then you always come up with these questions like, well, how far is it to here? Or what's on the east side of that? Or I can't remember that. Can you tell me what's down below this town? Or where did we come from to get to this swamp? All of that can be solved not only for them and for you with a map. The map itself actually can give your players some choice in the world. By helping them to figure out where they are and how far it might take them to get somewhere else, it might influence their decision about where to go next. Now, I don't run a homebrew pure sandbox campaign. You can watch my other videos on that, role players versus role players, or the Great GM Railroad debate. I do not run a 100% sandbox campaign. I believe that players have choice, though. The train is going somewhere, but once they're on the train, they can do whatever they want. So I do like to give them the freedom to go to different places, even if the world itself is on a path towards some, hopefully, monumental and exciting conclusion. The map allows your players to have choice, and it also allows you to plan your campaign in chunks. Here's what I mean by that. Say you want to plan a series of adventures in a swamp. Well, you have that on your map. You can look at that swamp and start to write out or plan in a campaign manager like Scabard or something like that. Okay, I know I want to have 3 adventures in here. I want one that deals with some undead, and I want one that deals with, a player character getting trapped or something like that, or maybe a lost ruin or something. So you start to plan out that part. And then you can tie those adventures in to the bigger campaign, right? So you have, as I talk about in my other videos, you have campaign adventures that relate directly to the plans and activities of your major adversaries. You have adventures that may just be for treasure or building allies or gaining some sort of advantage, right? Well, either way, you can maybe put 3 different types in that swamp, and then come over here to this town and say, okay, what are the different adventures that I would like my players to experience when they go there? That allows your players to say, okay, well, we heard from so-and-so that this person over here might be hiding in the swamp. Let's go to the swamp first. Or they might debate and say, no, we need to go to this town first over here because that guy, he's a potential enemy, and we need to scout it out. Either way, you're prepared, right? You've prepared based on where your players are heading next. Great way to plan out your campaign and give your player character some choice in how things move forward. In addition, you can have a variety of settings. Mountain settings and forest settings, small town, big city, castles. Once you put it all on the map, it gives you an idea of how you can mix and match some of your different settings, which makes your campaign engaging. You know, I mean, you could run your whole campaign in a dark and dirty, twisted streets of an ancient city, sure. But even that, after about a year or half a year of campaigning, sometimes the players themselves would just like to go see a forest or some trees or something like that. I don't know. Either way, it allows you to change up how you're experiencing it and how you're describing it. You can play with weather and things like that. It really allows you to be creative if you have a map to work from. You can also plan in those travel adventures. So between the 2 locations, between the swamp and the castle, your players can maybe go foraging. They can go looking for things. You can have some encounters on the road and things like that. So I would highly recommend planning not only adventures that go along with the locations, but travel adventures. So you're planned in advance, because as if you've been jamming for a while, you know that travel adventures can be either really stupid and a waste of time, or they can be really planned out and very eventful, and what happened on the road to that town can be something that the player characters remember for a long time. Finally, a map creates a sense of mystery and exploration, because they don't know what they're going to find when they get there. Even if they have a map they purchased at the local map maker, it doesn't matter. They don't know what they're going to find until they get there, which gives this sense of adventure. If they spend a couple of weekend sessions in a particular town or city, and they wonder what that mysterious castle on the edge of the map holds, or that monastery off in the mountains, it might just pique their interest. All right, so those are the reasons why you might want to plan your campaign with a map. I'm actually going to go dive into a map and show you how to do that now.
Okay, so here we are inside my War of the Mountain Gods campaign on Scabard RPG Campaign Manager. This is the campaign manager that I use. You might use something completely different. So if you see some things today that are really specific to Scabard, no biggie, you can always apply those somewhere else. I like the functionality of Scabard because it's sort of like the Apple of RPG campaign managers. I don't know if the creator would like me saying that, but for me, it's just easy to use. It's a really clean interface, and so that's why I like to use it. And I'm going to show you how I might go about using a map. Just you upload the map, and then you start using it to plan with. I'm going to show you how I do that inside the system. But you can use anything you want. All right, so I'm here on my homepage for my campaign, War of the Mountain Gods. This is just a sample campaign that I've been using it to talk through some of the ways to go about creating a brand new campaign. And all I did was I uploaded my map. So you just, it's got this little button here. You click image, you upload your PNG file or your JPEG file or your PDF or whatever, and I stick it in there. Now, I told you I built this map in WonderDraft. Took me about an hour, and honestly, that was because I was going really slow with it. It's really not hard to use. I created a long map, and I thought, well, this is going to be kind of the entire land I'm going to work with in my campaign, and it might be divided up into 2 sections, right? So I might have the Borean section here, and I might have the Bellian section here because that's Mount Bell, and up here is Mount Bor. So now I can start to visualize, where do I want my players to start the campaign? Where do I want them to get started? And I like a centralized located town. It doesn't have to be centrally located, but I'm going to go ahead and start them in the middle here, in the blood fields, the craggy towers area here. And actually, let me zoom in here and you can see this a little bit better. And you can see a bigger version of this. I do like this version. This is great for showing your players. You can put it up on the screen and that sort of thing. So I'd like them to start right here in Drex. That's going to be what I call my sandbox town, and I'm going to plan my adventures from there. So you can click on any part of your map and use it to pin your important locations, and I actually prefer not to do it that way. On my campaign map, I prefer to take my map here and use it only for my adventures and my session logs. How do I do that? Well, I've already built an adventure here. We talked through it in one of my other videos. You can go to your adventures, you just click on adventures there. And an adventure is just really an event. And in the event, you can connect all the different relevant people that would be involved, locations that would be involved. You can have your table of contents there, and it'll list them all out in your adventure, right? So what I like to do is take my campaign map and then map my adventures, because your players only experience your world through one medium. Okay, I will put a little caveat on that. Sometimes you have the occasional rare player who will go and just really want to dig through the lore of your campaign. But most of the time, they are going to experience that lore very dramatically within a few hours on a Friday, Saturday, or whatever day that you have your games. That is the principal medium that players experience your campaign world. And so I want my campaign map to reflect those experiences. So when I plan, I go to my main campaign page, and the first thing I link in there is the adventure. So I mentioned I have Save Crod's Daughter. It was an adventure we just kind of extemporized and came up with. I need to figure out where this is going to take place. I think I wanted to start over there in Craggy Towers right there, but I think I wanted to end up going to this little town over here past these hills, the Lysistra town. And so what I would do is I would just click on that, and it's going to bring up this interface, and I'm going to type in save, and we're going to put in Save Crod's Daughter. And now I've got that pin there. Now, after an adventure is finished, what I do is I will take a session log for that, and you can create your session log a couple of different ways. You can see session logs are right there by just clicking new. You can also create one by going into the connections and going down to session log, and we'll call it Save Kraad's Daughter. And you can name it something else. So say something funny happens during your campaign, like the dwarf is mauled by a large bear. You could say, dwarf gets mauled, and that's the name of your session log, because that's how your players are going to remember it. All right, and then you create that there. We're just going to say session log here with the subtitle. And then what I usually do is I will do a bulleted list of the important things that happen in that adventure. All right, click save here, and that's going to be created. And then what I'll do is after the adventure is over, I go back to my campaign map, and I link in the session log into the map. So they can actually go in here, and instead of seeing Save Crod's Daughter, the adventure, they're now going to see Save Crod's Daughter, the session log. And that's what they'll be able to pull up. And so when they think through, okay, what happened 2 weeks ago, and they think about that adventure that they went through where they saved Crod's daughter, they'll be able to click on this and pull it up, and it'll list all the events, all the people, all the places that were involved. Now, how do I use this to plan? Well, I've got this whole section over here. My players start talking about, hey, we need to go to the ruins of Barash. I'm like, the ruins of Barash, that's kind of a swampy area. I'm going to think through 3 adventures that I'm going to place in the ruins of Barash. And then I'd go up here and create those adventures. And you can use the adventure builder. If you haven't used the adventure builder, it's pretty straightforward. It's got all these great plots in here, capture the flag, breaking and entering, and basic plot outlines. And you can use that to create your adventure, or you can just go to a classic edit and just type away and go crazy on it. I would create an adventure, and then I would plant it right there in the ruins of Barash. So it's pretty easy to do that. And I find that it's a really great way to plan through locations. So as soon as your players start talking about the fact that they need to go speak to somebody over in Rappin, they've gotten some clues or information about something going on in the town of Rappin over here, you should probably be thinking through the adventures in Rappin. This is how throughout the months as I'm planning through my campaign, or hopefully weeks as I'm thinking through things, I think, oh man, we're going to be heading over to Castle Narain. I want to think of some fun adventures at Castle Narain, or this town of Millets, or this strange Bell Manor over there, the mysterious place near the foggy area. I can think through all these things and maybe even plan the big parts of my campaign here at Castle Narain and Fort Maltok as they meet the rulers of my area. But either way, this then becomes the brainstorming tool for you, and a visualization tool for your players, and a great way to keep track of all the things that have happened in your campaign, whether it lasts months or years. It'll all be right there linked into your map. And just as a quick add-on to this, I want to let you know that coming soon for maps are different colors and different shapes of pins. So instead of just using one pin for an adventure, I could put a pin here telling us about the town of Lysistra. I could put another pin with all the adventures that happened there. I could even put the different color or different shape for my session log. So that flexibility is coming soon. We're really excited about that coming to Scabard. Well, I hope this helps. I'm really just talking about a framework for building a campaign and how you can use a campaign map to do that. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. Put them down below the video, and make sure to like and subscribe. Yes, that's how we build our channel here. We'd love for you to do that. And of course, I got the links down below to this campaign and to Scabard if you'd like to find out more. I'm Ravensmaw, and I hope you're doing everything you can to spend time with people you care about, having a great time. I hope that's what you're doing right now.